Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's. I just got back in time. We went to the shops urgently to pick up some stuff for Sue, and as we got in, it was like 4:30. Well,
All right.
okay. So rushed to the phone and turned on the Zoom. Thought, you're not there. I beat you. But
I was on the other one.
you were on the other one. Yes. No, we'll use the private one in future. It is inconvenient because, in a sense, that I've got to. Doesn't matter if I change back after our meeting. Even if I log in tomorrow, it goes through a whole rigmarole that it doesn't know me. So I've got to go through a process. And,
okay.
And I'm used to the process now. I've got everything ready, so I just go through the process. Okay.
Very good.
So it's absolutely fine. Yeah.
So as I recall, you were going to do a 60-minute dissertation on locals?
On what? Fortunately, I didn't hear you. There was a crackling somewhere. And,
okay. Oh, not to worry.
Yeah, I see you just posted something now too again. I haven't watched the one you posted 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was from yesterday, but I didn't load it up until this morning, I don't think. So, yeah.
Yeah. I actually keep my Skype closed at the moment because I don't use it for anything in particular.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we go to, you can post there. I'll go in every now and again and pick up your links. Otherwise, YouTube will send me the links
Okay.
as well. Usually a day later, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter. And otherwise, on any of the social media platforms that we use, like Telegram.
Can you put Telegram on the desktop?
Yes, you can. It still becomes an app, so you can put it onto, and it looks different. I did it yesterday, and it's a little different in its mechanism, but as a messaging app, it's a messaging app, and yes, you can. And I had to delete it because I loaded it last night, and it decided of its own intelligence that in the middle of my get set up classes, it would flash on my screen that this person had posted.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Good advert for Telegram, but not good for me. So while I was in class, I quickly right-clicked and delete. I've got to find that setting. So I'll download it again and find the setting that says I don't want those sort of announcements on my screen.
Yeah, they become a pest, don't they?
Oh, they do. Hey? On the
It's
phone
like
too.
It's like WhatsApp, like particularly with the Latra, it's like every 5 minutes you got someone posting on it, sort of thing, So
yeah, but I've almost mastered it on my phone now because I don't allow any of them. It's just a setting, okay.
Oh,
And I don't allow any of them to flash up on my screen, with one exception, and that is Telegram at the moment, because I'm testing it. I want to see what flashes up and what I have to cancel. The others are all the same, but Telegram might just be different. So over the weekend, on my phone, that is, not on the desktop. On the phone, I allow certain things on the phone.
Yeah.
So we see it. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I watched that little, well, there's an audio clip more than anything, wasn't it, of Moya there after we spoke on Sunday.
Oh, Moya, yes.
Yeah, it was a lot briefer than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It was pretty much just a single-pointed message, unless I missed something, but it was...
No, that's it. That's what Moya does. He's a man. Yeah. In person, he's a man of few words. He just is, okay? And we would pick him out about that. He said, you know, guys, I chat to you at nighttime when you're asleep, man. Okay, we communicating all the time. You know, what do you what do you want to know in this dimension?
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you can remember, sometimes you can, but mostly you can't. Well, I can't. Okay. Yeah. So he's got his own sort of dry sense of humor. Yeah. But he's probably telling the truth as well, anyway.
Sorry?
He's probably telling the truth anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anybody that connects with him. There's quite a lot of information on the website, but it's very, very, very different. It's not so much. It's in fact it's not about this world at all. You know, when it comes to Logos, and it's different to Elytra that are moving towards creating physically getting people to action to create a better world. Logos is you action yourself silently, you know, in other ways other than physically going out there and doing stuff. Okay, so yeah, it's a
which seems to be the way of most of the spiritual masters, actually.
Yeah, I agree, and it needs to be. You know, this is a holographic lie. Okay, so it seems like silly trying to, you know, you're just imagining Star Trek on the ship, and you're going into a holographic room to have some entertainment. You go there now to try and become spiritual. Okay, and you know it's an artificial environment that you've created for yourself. So how do you become spiritual in a holographic image? Anyway, I was going to check if the new Star Trek the next season is out now with Picard.
All right, okay.
I won't miss them. I just love them to bits. I get so disappointed when the season comes to an end and you got to wait months before the next season.
Next season starts, yeah.
I don't mind waiting a week for the next episode, but not for the season. Yeah.
They always have pretty amazing special effects, don't they?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and they keep getting better and more modern. They keep up with the times, you know, with the approach, with how the actors act, what they say, and how they behave. It's not like they used to do in the 60s. You know, it's very different today, and it's modern. So you can't get a more modern interpretation of a movie than you get at Star Trek at the moment. In the first season of Picard, and the other one was Discovery. The one is on Netflix. The other one is on Amazon. And it's so funny when I do the classes. Okay, and there's a reason. Like say I'm on YouTube, and I search for something. So I might well often search for Star Trek. Okay, on YouTube. Okay, and here comes up, you know. Even the recent, but the recent one is not a movie, it's the trailer to the movie, so it's encouraging people. And all of them, without exception, they all grew up with Star Trek and they all remember Star Trek. Okay. And then I search for Tom Jones, and I wait, and then all his songs come up, and I look for like Delilah, which was back in the 60s. And I play Delilah. It takes their breath away. Yeah, a lot of fun. So what have you been up to?
Oh, just same old, really. I started the new series, the new topic on from in the car. So
okay.
But I never seen. Just going from untruth to truth is the topic this time. So.
Oh, just the topic you changed, not the series.
Yeah, just the topic's changed. Yeah. But I sort of, as I said, you know, I don't plan any of it. It's just literally get in the car and what am I going to talk about now? And I thought, okay, and so I turn the camera on and there it goes.
Yeah. I had a reply from in fact, a Logos person, Maddie, and she apparently is subscribed to these 5-minute videos that I've done. And she said, I so enjoy your 5-minute video. And you were talking about metals in the body, but you haven't spoken about how to get rid of them. Okay. You told us how dangerous it was. And I said, I'm convinced I'm full of metal and so on, but your next video must be about how to get rid of them. I thought, okay. But I haven't got it. That's only about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So I need to think about that and put something up, and I'll refer it to her.
Well, it's good. It's good. It's always good to have people engaging with it.
Yes, it absolutely is. Absolutely is. She said she's had so much, in the same email, she said she had so much benefit over the years from my articles and things that I've written. She said, and she listed the things, you know, I've cured myself of this, and this, and thanks to Michael Plumstead. And so, yeah, nice.
Well, it's nice. Yeah.
It is nice. It really is nice. And she said, oh, that one you wrote about fulvic acid. Yo, people need to know how important it is. You know, it's really done miracles for me. And I thought, okay, well, that comes from the earth, right? Organic earth, nothing else. Yeah. And that's where your real heart of your health lies, in organic earth. Yeah.
Well, that's where we come from, and that's where we go back to.
Yeah. So it makes sense to get our health from it, you know. And I never phased it that way, you know. Only now that you and I are talking, you know, I would think, oh, you know, I would reword that. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, I wrote that. I would reword it now, you know, based on just what you said. You know, we came from the earth, we go back to the earth. So let's look to the earth for health. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that.
It's only a borrowed body.
Yeah.
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 Don't think we pay interest on it though. But anyway.
Oh, I think you do heavily. That's strange.
It is indeed. So what's been on your mind? Much at all? I suppose you've just been busy with your Get Set Up on that, have you? Or?
It doesn't stop me thinking.
Yeah.
I've still got time to think. You know, I only do 3 hours a day, and, you know, treble that on preparation for new ideas and classes and so on, but still have plenty of time to think.
So are you still doing like your basic, like social media classes and that sort of thing? Or?
That's, you know, absolutely. I've created another 2 that I've got to demonstrate it to them early next week, which is another social media platform, Pinterest. And the other one that they agreed to listen to was microgreens. So
okay.
Okay, now that's starting to get away from the social media and the microgreens. They allowed me, I told you before, they allowed me to do my business planning. And so I'm trying to put together now the next class of business planning. And so slowly I'll sort of move away from the tech. But they want, you know, while they're launching in Australia, they do want a sort of not a comprehensive, but they do want the slots filled, okay? So people come and have a look at what's this Get Set Up, and that they can see what it is, and hopefully can get some benefit there and then with a free class. Okay? And
so do you have to do any of those?
Yeah, I do all of them. All of mine are free. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And all new guides are free. I get paid.
Yeah.
Okay. By Get Set Up, but they offer them for free in order to build a new audience. And, So, but it's interesting because still the majority of my audience is North American. Okay?
And are you getting any sort of repeat followers, or is it all
Yes.
new students?
No, you get repeats. Yeah, you do. And people follow you from class to class. And I had my first person from Indonesia, same time zone as Perth. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was interesting. This person popped up, Marla, her name was, and from Indonesia, and she said, "Oh, my time's 9 o'clock. My time's 9 o'clock." Okay, so so I realized there's a market there, even though they don't launch there, they don't market there. People get to hear about it, and there's no reason that we shouldn't market in the same time zone. You know, north south. You know, and,
well, it's a big population.
Yeah.
Population of Indonesia, I think, it's like 10 times that of Australia, I think.
Okay, that's very interesting. And do they have different time zones like Australia basically have two?
I don't know. I think they're fairly compact up there. I mean, it's like a whole series of islands and that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they probably would do, I guess, but it wouldn't be a dramatic difference, I don't think. It might be like half an hour from one side to the other, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I must actually Google it and see, because it's probably worthwhile, you know, somehow trying to let people know in that part of the world. They're encouraging us to also market however we can, you know, on social media or wherever, just to get the word out there. But you know, everybody that follows me doesn't come from Australia.
And are they saying that they're still, you know, trending in the right direction and that sort of thing?
As in, what do you mean?
Well, in terms of growth of participants and the numbers of people participating in Get Set Up, and
yeah, they want to just recently, like in the last few weeks, they've employed quite a number of full-time people, okay, and different types of people, you know, media type people and programmers and things like that. And they've said that they want to expand, you know, basically across the world, okay, but that it will all just be managed technically from America, North America, but then each country, it would have its own marketing team in that country, and then each country will have their own teachers or trainers, and so that they're in the correct time zones, okay, for people. So you know, you can have classes from 8 to 8, and you know, you can, even here in Australia, you know, Sydney is 3 hours ahead of us here in Perth.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I do a class at, you know, 7 o'clock for an early morning class, you know, it's 10 o'clock already there. And there's nobody else. You know, I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to get up 3 hours before 7 o'clock in order to get 7 o'clock in Sydney. You know? So, but who knows, you know, if they ask me kindly enough.
So when you say they've been employing full-time people,
yeah,
do they pay them differently, or do they still pay them the same as they pay you?
I have no idea how they pay them. But they've got, clearly they've got some good backing when you look at some of the logos that they call their partners. Okay. Not the type of guys that are the big tech guys. You know, I didn't recognize the names, so that gives you an idea. But I would imagine they people that fit the profile of whatever Get Set Up sees itself as. So, and the idea is to get membership, and that's how they're going to build their income. You know,
so people take out what, like an annual subscription or something, do they? Or
yeah, you know, at the moment it's like $10 a month, and then you have, I don't know, 4 lessons a month or something, and then you can pay $15, and then you can have unlimited, something like that. You see, and so yeah, the people who have been following me have grasped like mad, because why do you only train at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And some of them stay up. Eh? Oh, actually, I'm a late owl, says a few of them. You know, others said, "Oh, I've just come back from working shifts." And so, you know, I guess. Well, I know that Get Set Up wants to train 24 hours, so you know they just don't have enough guides at the moment, and I guess enough topics. You know, they've only got about 200 topics across the board that are taught. So, you know, if you want to teach every hour or every half hour for 24 hours, you've got to have quite a lot of topics.
You sure do. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially if they're limiting, well, I guess they have to limit the number of participants in a course.
Yeah, class. You as the designer of the class sort of can say whether you want sort of less than 10 in the class, or between 10 and 30, and above 30 to 80. Okay. Some of those guys in America do 80. I heard one speaking the other day about it, just offline on the chat pages that get set up for us as trainers. And you know, she said it's very difficult to handle 80 people.
It would be, especially if you're going to try and engage with them. You know, so
I can't see how you can engage. You know, because you've got to put their microphones off, and I suppose they can put their hands up, their virtual hand up, and then you can choose them. But you know,
it's also quite intimidating for some people, because they don't want to sort of ask a question or say something and feel as if they're like look stupid or whatever. And,
yeah, true. But anyway.
No, I still think it's a great idea, though. Great concept. You know?
It is a great concept, definitely. And yeah, I took your advice. You know, remember I was in a bit of a quandary about my website and what to do and the emails and so on. So if you go to my website now, you'll see I've basically taken off everything about ebook writing and you know, being paid for it and so on, and just making that website about my alternative health journey. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all. And then, you know, where my adverts were for, you know, people to engage me in writing an ebook for them on each page, there was like a little form. I've just said, you know, now doing Get Set Up, if you want some information, you can click here. And I'll put information maybe on a weekly basis about the scheduling of the classes, because if you're in another time zone like South Africa is, it's actually difficult to find people. So I thought if I just put up a schedule when, like Sue and I are training, we know a week in advance from Friday to Friday, you know, when we're training, and we can just put it up, and then people can, I'll put a URL and they can just click on it, and that'll take them to where they can book for a lesson, where it tells them everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. But otherwise, the website is now my alternative health website. And, you know, yeah, if I do write something, then, you know, I might well just go back and reread some of those I wrote in 2015. I think it was 14 or 15 when I started. And, you know, they could be out of date now.
Yeah.
And so I might look at just tweaking them a bit, not necessarily rewrite, and also to make sure that they're still the truth, okay? Because the truth does change, and science does change, and you get different things. So yeah, so I'm going to leave it, but basically it's just going to lie there now with all the emails I've sent. I've got 52 emails that are all related to my website, all links to my website. So they're not things that date, okay?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's an email about fulvic acid, for example, and there's no article about fulvic acid. And and also I've had my website indexed, which has never been indexed. So, you know, if somebody is Googling for fulvic acid, you know, possibly, you know, I might come up in one of the searches, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just leave that to the universe and see how I move. But I'm not selling anything off that website, nothing at all. Okay. And that pleases me too, because over the years I've tried to sell different products, and you know, I don't like people. Talking about not liking people, I nearly did a 5-minute video on it. And I thought, Michael, rather just share it with Don rather than a 5-minute video. And that was, you know, over the years, there have been a few doctors that I've trusted online, where I can get information, because I know where they get their information from. And there are a few that take science papers and then they blog about the content of those science papers. Now, I don't like reading science papers. To me, they just too much, okay? So I'd rather take somebody who's interpreted that science. Anyway, Dr. Gundry was one. In fact, 3 years ago, I bought his book, one of his books. And so he was one of the sort of top of my list, one of the top on my list. And recently, you know, on 2 occasions, the last one was yesterday, the day before, and I listened to one of these, you know, these marketing things, Don, where somebody says, they give you a headline, okay? You know, something like, in fact, his was something to the effect of, this is the worst thing you can put in your stomach, okay? Okay, so caught my imagination. I want to think now, Dr. Gundry, yes, this. Okay. I am not lying when I tell you 1 hour later, I was still listening to him on a video and he landed up trying to sell me a product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't stand that. Can't stand it. I've taken him off my list.
Well, they call that, there's a term for that, isn't it? Was it ClickFunnels or something they call that?
I have no idea what they call it, okay?
But it's just ambushing, really, isn't it? Like clickbait, you know, just to get you there with a view to trying to sell you something, you know. So
and yeah, but somebody who you share information with, okay, now tries to sell you something, he's biased.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to tell you what you need to know in order to make a decision about his product.
Well, he's not that different than many other traditional doctors who just flog whatever the big pharma put in front of them, you know. So
that's exactly what it is. And I've taken him off my list of preferred doctors now after that. I do not want that. And that's why I feel comfortable about not actually selling something on my website. You know, it's there, it's free. Anybody can go and look at it and decide for themselves, you know, whether that's relevant to them. And it basically aimed at people with painful legs and diabetes and arthritis. Maybe that's part of painful legs, but you know, broadly that's it. And there's information on that site that I listened to. I told you this already. That the diabetes seminar that I listened to. All that information is on my website and has been on my website for a year or 2. And here they're propounding it as the latest on diabetes. Who should have I been in my life?
Well, but I mean that's the trouble. I mean, and that's the world that we're in at the moment. You know, is that it's all about, you know, making money and telling people what you think they want to hear, so they'll go and buy stuff that they don't need. You know, so
yeah, or they buy stuff that works for one person but doesn't work for another person. And you can't, you know, tell me that there's any factor of any type of healthy food or healthy pills that works for everybody. Okay. No, because we are all so diverse in our interconnections of our systems, okay, that, you know, it doesn't matter what blood type you are. It doesn't matter, you know, you don't know, you've got a leaky gut, okay? You've got to know the symptoms. So to know the symptoms is then important, but those symptoms can come from different systems, produce the same symptoms. So it's not health. You've got to just stay with the basics and the foundation. Keep on going back to Mother Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as you say, you know, when you unravel it all, we're comprised of 5 elements, aren't we, really? So,
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's interested me for so many years, and I guess it's going to still be there in the back of my mind. Probably the ideal situation, and it's not going to happen, they've told me it's not going to happen, is if I did classes on alternative health. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. But they said, no, there's, you know, there are too many, I forget the words they use, but you know, people don't all agree with those sort of things. And
so do they have any classes on health-related matters?
Yeah, they do. They even promote vaccines, okay? And they have classes on how to get vaccinated, and you know, in your local area and stuff like that. And they do have health issues, but they're fundamental, you know, non-informational, basically. You know, that you need to eat your greens. You know, that's it's very healthy, and your doctor will tell you need to eat your greens. And this doctor says you must eat your greens and your pumpkins or whatever else. Like, I'm exaggerating now. So it's still your doctor says when it comes to health issues. And they're very adamant that anybody who talks about health must be a doctor.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And so
that's interesting.
So, but you know, I guess people will change in various positions, and you know, either that or I've got to. I just got to accept it. I think, rather than I was going to say do my classes on my own website, or you know, or do one on alternativehealth.life. But you know, there wouldn't be any sense there. You know, you've got to, as you said months ago, you've got to get a following. You know,
yeah.
And, so, and that's what I guess what we're doing now. You know, trying to get a following on our various YouTube sites.
Because the other thing that I sort of started talking about a little bit, like even with this latest topic, is too that it's not like the most fundamental part of it is that you're talking about a process. So you're not sort of like preaching a philosophy or a religion or a you know, way of life. It's just like, to be healthy, these are the things that you do. And you just talk about if you eat a food and in half an hour you feel this way, or the next day you feel this way. So you're describing a process, you know, so you're encouraging people to be aware and take note of what they're eating and how they feel afterwards. You know, I mean,
yeah.
And there's no medical training necessary to do that. It's just, you know, make a note of, you know. So if you've gone out and eat, like you described there, you know, a month or so ago, oh, we're in a hurry and we had McDonald's, and you know, a week later you were still suffering. So.
Yeah. It's, but they won't see it that way. Okay, and they don't. And so, you know, I won't change my interests, and at the moment, my extra time, you know, I can't write about alternative stuff. So I'm you know, spending my time researching for classes, because one of the things I can see would happen here you know, if you're only teaching sort of a dozen classes, you're going to get bored with those classes.
Yeah.
You know, a month in and month out.
Right.
And even though you get new people coming every time to the topic, because there's a buildup of customers, you know, and they want the same thing. You need to have, for me, because I can get bored easily, I need to have a variety, and I need to keep. So probably for the rest of this year, you know, I'd like to have under my belt, I don't know any sort of number, but you know, maybe 40 or 50 classes that I can teach. And then, you know, they do the scheduling, so then they can take them and schedule them, you know, because at least I know there's going to be a variety if they accept the classes. Once they accept them, then they're on the list, and it's their job to find space for them.
Yeah.
So,
no, I think that's a good idea too, you know, and that, as you say, creates variety for you, and, you know, gives you that breadth of interest and that sort of thing as well. You know, especially if you're taking a longer term view. I mean, if you see yourself being there for a few years and that, you know, well, the last thing you want to do is see yourself, you know, teaching people on the basics of Facebook or something like that for the next 5 years, sort of thing, you know. So
and that's one of the things that you know, I said this to you last time as well, I don't particularly like promoting, you know, the big tech companies like Facebook and so on. It could be a lead in, like today for the first time in my class. You know, I do a class called the Top Social Media Apps. And now they just said to me, what apps you're going to do? And they said, all right, okay. They didn't even, they usually ask you for a sort of a test run and so on. But anyway, so today for the first time, I had 10 minutes left in the class. I said, now I'm going to tell you about Telegram, okay? And you know, this guy owns Telegram. He's a private individual. He's not part of the big tech that are monopolizing the social media and telling you what you can see and do. And so, you know, and I guess if somebody from Get Set Up was listening, they might not have appreciated that. But I can't help myself, you know. That's who I am. And
but the trouble is, a lot of people don't even think about it. You know, they just they just accept it as it is. You know.
So I've got to do it in a different way. You see, I also said to them, you know, this is the one Donald Trump has gone to now. He's doing all these tweets from Telegram now. You know, so if you were following him on Twitter, you know, then and then after the class closed, I thought, you know, that's a controversial topic. You know, Donald Trump and Twitter, you know, you either hate him or you love him. Now, you know, Get Set Up don't want any subjects that are going to, you know, sort of isolate one grouping against another.
But it's just a statement of fact, though, just the same.
Yes.
You know, isn't it? I mean, it is. You
know? That's true. What I can do is you know, just sort of not change who I am, but rather find the positive in Telegram without running down anybody else. Okay? You know, Telegram does this and this. It's very interesting, emerging new ones, and you need to know about it because I'm covering the top apps and so on. And not mention Donald Trump, and not.
No, but I think you can also talk about it in a historical sense. You can sort of say that, I can't even remember the name of it now. What was it? The one before Facebook? Anyway.
Yeah, but that is a long time ago. Facebook was 20 years ago it started. But there was, I forget it, but it fell away.
And I think that's the point, though, is that if something happens for whatever reason, you know, the nature of the beast is that people can desert it in a heartbeat, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're right. Anyway, are you getting any closer to joining GetSetup?
I think I will. I think I will. I had spent a bit of time there on the weekend, just past, sort of thinking about, if I did, what sort of things would I do, and how would I do it, and what would I do, and that sort of thing. So I'm sort of moving closer to the idea that I need to sort of sit down and schedule one of those meetings with them and just sort of talk about, things a bit more. Like, I understand, based on my conversations with you, about, what their aspirations are and that sort of thing. But it's just a matter of me seeing, well, given my current commitments and that, as to, what I could offer them and whether that's of interest to them, So.
Yeah, and when you do that, to join, you've got to have a minimum of 6 potential classes, okay?
Yeah.
And they can be a series, 1 to 6, on something specific, a logical series, or it can be 6 separate topics. And what I know what one of the sort of categories revolves around art and art, in lots of different formats. All right, so there are some templates already that some American people do on the arts, and so there are templates available that they freely share with you. You've got to put most of your own content, but that sort of, the template sort of says, right, you're going to talk about, all the ancient churches or something, or whatever, and the architecture involved there, or the painting of the ceilings or whatever. And there's apparently a definite market for people like that who want to be part of that. And so, I think you're the ideal person, to look at that possibility of filling those sort of categories across the board. It can be paintings, it can be architecture.
Did they go into like the area of philosophy at all?
No, they keep away from philosophy. They keep away from religions. Anything that possibly is just somebody's opinion, they keep away from.
Yeah.
Okay. So it started off as just teaching people apps, so that they could, have a life being restricted to their homes and things. So it's broadened out now to, let's teach them something that, and they profess about being healthy, but their health is very orthodox. They've opened in India, and it's taken India by storm. Okay.
Really?
Oh my goodness! I think they've been, I don't know, maybe it's now 4 months, because it was 3 months when I was last told. 4 months, and they have, I think, 1,000 lessons going that are well attended.
Wow.
And Deval, she's like supposed to be launching in Australia. She's an Indian living full time in India, and she launched India. So they gave her the task of launching Australia, but she's still so involved in launching India. And of course they do classes in their local tongues, not in English. And she says it just isn't space for some of the people. Get booked out in no time at all. And so it's absolutely profound. They had no expectation that it would be this successful.
Wow. Well, that's good. Yeah.
It's very, very good. Okay. So, but I think you're going to find they're thinking about Britain now and launching in Britain, quite soon, and possibly in France. And so I don't know what they've learnt from launching in India. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? And I suppose there's always the danger with some of these sorts of initiatives that their metrics are all about participation rates and numbers and stuff like that. And that's when invariably they start to lose sight of the original guiding principles, isn't it? You know, so
yeah, but I sent you a link a month ago or so about the owner or the CEO of Get Set Up. Neil is his name, Neil Goza or somebody. He is also Indian, but although he doesn't look it, strangely enough. But and he was saying, you know, we mustn't lose sight of why we started Get Set Up. Okay. So, you know, it's very aware, but as he's employing more senior people, which he's doing, you know, hopefully it's not going to become consumeristic. At the moment, it's definitely not consumeristic. You know, they give so many free classes, and those that join up are joining up for pittance. And so, you know, there's and it's a hell of a market. I mean, just all these baby boomers that are heading and are in retirement, big population.
But you look at other apps too that, you know, like Audible, you know, which is all about audio books and podcasts and that.
Yeah, they asked me to look at that.
Yeah, and iHeartRadio and that. I mean, they have enormous audiences, you know.
Yeah,
so.
I must actually go and have a look at Audible. I've got it on my, I've never used it. I've got it downloaded.
It's owned by Amazon.
You've just spoiled my day.
But you should have a look at iHeartRadio though, because it's got a very strong community focus.
What's this?
iHeartRadio.
H-E-A-R-T, heart.
Yeah.
Okay. iHeartRadio. Okay, where is that based?
I think it's a US based, but it sort of operates globally. Okay. And what a lot of radio stations, like community radio stations and even commercial radio stations, they use the platform to complement their program. So say, for example, you might have like a drive program that goes from, say, 4 till 6 in the evening. And they'll point people to, you know, if you want to learn more about this topic, go to the podcast on iHeartRadio. So there's a lot of that sort of thing there, you know. So whilst they might talk about a topic, you know, for 5 minutes on the free-to-air radio, they might dedicate over an hour to the topic on iHeartRadio, you know. So
right. Okay.
And there's a lot of podcasts there, and you can essentially listen to any radio station in the world on it, just on, you know, on your phone or on the app, you know. So
yeah. Thanks for that. I'll research that.
Yeah, so I listen to it a fair bit, you know, but my biggest challenge, you know, is just the time factor, you know. So like as I said to you there before, like after I do my, you know, 5 or 10 minute video in the car, I just listen to a audio book for the rest of the way into work, you know, which might only be another 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But I've chosen, I prefer to do that than listen to the radio, you know. So
yeah. And to a podcast?
Yeah, either to a podcast or just to an audio book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You know, so I'm sort of being more discriminatory, yet at the same time much more productive about what I choose to, you know, give my ears to, if you want to term it like that. So.
Well, yeah, I understand that, because I've done the same thing. Definitely. This whole year now has been very, very different to previous periods. I discriminate for myself quite immensely.
Yeah, well, me too. And I think that part of what has helped shape my thinking, in fact, has been your approach to health, because it's not only what we eat, but it's also what we put into our heads, you know. And I just sort of think to myself, oh,
Right.
this is rubbish. I'm not listening to this, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just turn it off, you know, or, you know, and that's what I've basically done with the radio. You know, I get so frustrated and I sit there, oh my goodness, it sounds like 14-year-old teenage girls gossiping, you know, like I'm not listening to this rubbish, you know. So
Yes. But that's when you've got to discriminate, you know, and that's where you've got to judge for yourself, not them, but for yourself.
well, it is. And I just sort of took the conscious decision to say, no, if I'm going to listen to something, I want to listen to something that's meaningful and, I don't know, for the turn of a phrase, like, you know, feeds my soul. I don't want to just listen to nonsense, you know.
Unless, of course, it is Star Trek, then very meaningful series.
But it's funny you say that, though, because I mean, Star Trek is an art form, but it's an art form that encourages people, like it fosters people's imagination. You know, I think that's a healthy thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I feel good. I'm gonna speak to you more often.
Well, I do think it's a good thing, don't you? I mean, I really do. You know,
I have never thought about it. I just love it.
But I think what it does, sort of de facto, and I think science fiction has always done this, is it sort of just makes us sort of stretch our imagination about, oh, what could be possible, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can remember as a young boy, you know, like when it was Dick Tracy, you know, like talking into his watch and
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. And you think, oh, that's just amazing. Like that, will that ever happen? And now,
Yes.
yeah, you see people going up, you know, they buy something and they use their watch to make the payment on the machine, you know. I think, you know, like when I was a young boy, like that would have been like almost black magic, you know. So,
yeah. No, you're right. It's and yet there's only certain science fiction that the other becomes just horrible because they're just telling ghost stories and stuff like that. It's,
oh yeah, and it's all blood
horrible,
and gore and yeah, it's all
Yeah.
that nonsense. Yeah.
But there was another one. I'm sure you remember it, called Stargate. Okay.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, vaguely remember that one. Yeah.
They had their base in the South Pole. Okay.
Was that time travel or was that just jumping wormholes or something? Or?
It was they had this ring, and you could now set the ring to where you want to go and when. Yeah, so you could go anywhere in the universe. Okay, as long as there was another one of these rings at the other end. Okay, so you could jump from walking here in Atlantis. That's where they called their base, and in the South Pole, and walk through it and walk onto Mars. Okay, but of course the circle had to be there, so people had gone before. Okay, and it was an ancient civilization that had gone before. And so those ancient aliens had created these circles. They're gates, they're stargates. Yeah, that's what they call them. They call them stargates. That's where they get the name from. So, and that was just it. Nowhere near as scientific as Star Trek was, or it is, but it still was. They were going to the unknown, and they were going to see what they could find, and then they always met with some strife and so on. So there was always some good old drama, and so that was Stargate, and you know, people running around the universe. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
No, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, but I still watch them. I don't watch Stargate. I don't think Stargate has existed for a long time, but it certainly was there 20 or 30 years ago. And I guess there must be others, but I don't go searching for them. You know, I don't have a need to search for them because I just have, you know, my passion for Star Trek and Star Wars. When a new Star Wars movie comes out, then I'll go and see it. It's the only movie I'll probably go and see.
Yeah.
You know, if they bring it out once a year, then I go to movies once a year, and I make a big thing of it. You know, we'll eat all the stuff we shouldn't eat, and go and enjoy the chocolates, and you know, put our feet up in a nice, relaxing movie house, and you know, you make a meal out of it instead of just going quietly to watch the damn movie. You know?
Yeah. Make a big event of it.
Yeah. I love celebrating something. You know, I enjoy. Like I'm still waiting for my first payday from Get Set Up. Things have gone wrong somewhere, and but it's on my side, and I haven't. I've been waiting. As soon as I get that first pay in there, we're going to go out and we'll celebrate. That's the reason. We'll go to the coffee house and have some donuts and some cappuccino, you know, and that will be a memorable time for me, you know. And fun. I enjoy it. And my wife puts up with it.
No, I think it's good. It's important, you know. So
yeah, it is important to just acknowledge these things. Okay, she's enjoying her classes too now. She's loving them to bits.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah. Totally different subjects and things that are hers that she used to teach at high school and primary school and so on. So it's her topics.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going for over an hour.
Have we? Yeah, didn't notice. I've done all the talking, that's why. So you.
Well, that's good. That's good. Works out well.
Yeah. I prefer it when you do all the talking.
Do you? Oh well. Maybe next time.
Yeah, it does. It does. The pendulum does swing. Actually, it's interesting when you listen to the different recordings that we've done. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, please, it'd be great if you could join Get Set Up, and you know, but it must fit with your personality, your character, the topics.
Yeah. Well, I also want to make sure in my own mind that I feel that I'm making a contribution. I just don't want to. You know,
I understand that. Hey, you're not going to. You're not going to offend me. I absolutely understand that, and really, it needs to. You know, it's important to you to do that. And, you know, and to continue with your sort of antique restoration as well. You know, that is very meaningful. So, you know, maybe it's around that. You know.
Could be. Yeah, I've sort of been thinking about that. You know, so it could well be. You know, so.
Yeah. And
because there's a lot of topics, you know, for that demographic of people in terms of, you know, dealing with downsizing and changing and you know, changing your lifestyle and you know, that some people go from very busy work lives and sort of virtually overnight they stop that. And then they're at a bit of a loss as to what to do, and you know, so there's all of those.
Yeah. No, that is definitely the profile of the people, and they're all over 50. So a lot of them have joined, you know, before they've retired, thinking, "What am I going to do when I retire?" You know, and so they get on to Get Set Up, and So
the other sort of broader thing too, which I've noticed, you know, now that we've been like 12 months into Corona in a sort of a meaningful way, is it does seem to me, like this is a bit of a generalization, but it does seem to me that mainly, I guess, because it was forced upon them, but people are changing their spending habits. So those people whose form of recreation was travel, like, you know, air travel typically, or mostly, even if it was just like a couple of days here or a couple of days there or a week here or a week there. And even though it was sort of forced on you, a bit like, you know, every 3 months or whatever it was, you had to go and do a trip to Bali or to wherever.
Yeah.
Whereas now that that's not possible, and even to the extent that it's difficult to go over the border in a planned way, because you just don't know with these spontaneous lockdowns, is that if you are away, am I going to be able to get back? Or if I've made plans that in a month's time I want to go down and see my daughter in such and such a place, am I actually going to be able to do that? You know, so all that uncertainty has changed the way people look at, you know, recreation and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it really is making a lot of it more home oriented. So home base, like, okay, I'm going to go and start doing stuff in my workshop now that I hadn't done before, or I'm going to start painting, or I'm going to start, you know, whatever. So a lot of people are sort of rediscovering or discovering for the first time other forms of expression. And it seems to me, if you look at the sectors of the economy which have performed extraordinarily well, you know, like people buying boats, people buying bicycles, people buying motorcycles, people buying recreational vehicles, people buying tools and equipment.
Are they really? Have those things increased?
It increased to the extent now that even, like, for example, if you wanted to go and buy yourself like a brand new motorcycle, well, you might have to wait several months before you can take delivery of it because they're just having trouble keeping up with demand, you know. So
Wow, okay.
Stuff like that, you know. So there has been a shift, and the longer this pandemic flows on, the more likely, I think, you know, like, we're 12 months into it now, and I think that's one of the things that the airlines are sort of struggling with now, is that even though you can book a domestic flight, no one's much interested.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's too hard.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just too hard, too uncertain. And people don't like uncertainty. They really don't. You know, which is kind of paradoxical, but they seem to like their certainty around stuff, that in the knowledge that, okay, if I'm going to get on this plane, I want to know that it's actually going to take off, and I want to know that when I'm at my destination, that when it's time for me to come back, I can come back.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start putting some question marks around that, it's like, oh no, it's all a bit hard. Risk? Yeah, it's all a bit hard, you know. So
yeah.
So one of the byproducts of it, and I think it's actually, personally, I think it's largely a healthy thing for people, because it's helped them rediscover creative expression in many respects, you know. So
yeah. What's the employment like now in Australia?
Well, that's the other bit that's sort of a bit controversial at the moment, because some of the main, you know, traditional industries like tourism and farming and that sort of thing, they've been significantly impacted, of course, you know, because of what's happened. But their response to that, you know, which is a typical right-wing approach, is, oh, well, we need to make things easier for employers, which is usually code for pay people less, give them less certainty, and make them an expendable commodity in the employment relationship, you know. So I think it's, you know, fundamentally flawed, but there doesn't seem to be a will or a desire or a capability at the leadership level to sort of say, well, you know, here's an opportunity to rebuild our community. You know, what's going to be important in terms of, you know, the way people earn incomes and that sort of stuff, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
the right in particular seem to just default back to this: the rich get richer and the poor get used up. You know, so which is all just a consumeristic thing, and you know, unless I can continue to grow my profits, then you know, the world is a terrible place.
Yeah. Become aware of spirituality. Become aware of why you're here.
I think so too, and I sort of, I mean, it's only forming up as a bit of an idea in my head, you know, in my morning walks, but just the invitation to turn to the inner dimensions, because then you can sort of say to someone in earnest and in honesty and with integrity, go looking for some boundaries. Go look for your internal boundaries, because you won't find them. And if that doesn't start to get some people excited, then I don't know what will.
Yeah.
Because do you think about all the frustrations with the external environment? Oh, there's limitations here and there's limitations there, and I can't do this and I can't do all these limitations. But if you invite people to turn inward, it's boundless, you know. But there doesn't seem to be, it doesn't seem to generate excitement, or maybe it's because there's not the awareness there around it in a broader sense yet. But you know, just to say, well, go and explore that, you know, and just get people thinking about, okay, so when you look out, you always see all of the stuff, and you've been looking at that all of your life. Now look in, you know, have an inward look. Well, what am I looking at? Well, go and have a look.
Why must I go and have a look?
Why must you? Well, why wouldn't you?
Not good enough, Don Jones. Not good enough.
Why wouldn't you? Because it's right there.
You're
it's
talking
right
to
there.
somebody who's a materialist, and goes to work, makes the money, and goes to holiday, and spends his money on himself and his family. And what's this? Why must you go and look inside? Okay.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, because I know firsthand so many people whose life passion is around, you know, how much money I can make and how many wheeling and dealing I can do, and I love the, you know, the adrenaline around the chase of a deal and all this sort of stuff. But what they don't seem to want to see is that when they're taking their last couple of breaths, it'll be like, well, what the hell did I do that for? It would be like, to use your movie analogy, it would be like sitting down in the movie saying, oh, good, you know, here's the latest Star Wars movie or Star Trek movie, and then promptly falling asleep within the first 5 minutes and waking up when the credits roll with this look of bewilderment on your face, like, oh, is it over already?
I love your analogy. Oh, great stuff. Yeah.
The most wonderful invitation anyone can take up is to start the inward inquiry. Oh, what am I looking for? Well, you tell me. Look for a boundary. See if you can find a boundary. What do you mean, look for a boundary? Well, exactly that. Go and look for a boundary. You won't find one. Well, I haven't found one yet. And you can do it in a physical sense, kind of, by saying, okay, find the edge of the universe. Well, you won't find it. And in a microscopic level, you know, show me the smallest particle that you can find. Well, you won't find it either, you know. And then the next logical question, well, in my mind anyway, next logical question is, well, then the only person who can truly get to my core is me. So why don't I?
What's the benefit?
Well, the benefit is you actually discover who you are.
What's the benefit of that?
To be continued on Sunday night.
You know what you must do sometime is take your camera with you on your morning walk, okay? And record a minute or two in your walk and whatever you want to. But also, I'd be interested in seeing your surroundings, you know. And,
okay, well, I'll do that tomorrow for you.
Yeah, do that, please. It'll be so interesting, and I will reciprocate. And you'll see that the difference of vegetation, I'm convinced, on the East Coast compared to the West Coast here, the forest. I mean, I walk in what they call a forest too. In South Africa, we just call it the bush. But yeah, please do that. And
I'll show you a couple of my favorite things out on the walk.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Promise. You promise.
Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow for sure.
Great. Okay.
Because so I'll just take this with me.
Oh, is that your camera? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Just a little.
Okay. Nice and small. Eh? Goodness me. And what sort of pixels does it take?
It'll take up to do a 4K video if you want it to.
Oh, okay. Now I'm thinking about but I see when you take the one, but I can see in the car. I mean, it's very clear. You use that one in the car?
Yeah, I do. In the car, I only do it at 1080 with 60 frames per second, because when I do a 4K video, I don't like how I look. I think I look too scary.
Oh, okay.
I can notice detail that I prefer not to share.
Somebody's got an ego, huh?
No, not an ego at all. Just very self-conscious. Yeah.
You're worried about how you look.
Well, you said to me one time that you weren't listening to what I didn't say you weren't listening, but you said you were fascinated by what was going on the windows outside the car, you know.
Yes. And you always take the same damn route.
Well, that's what happens when you go to work in the same place.
Yeah. I look forward to your forest. I look forward to your walk.
Well, it's not a forest, but I'll. Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Hopefully the tide will be in tomorrow. So.
Okay. Oh, so you're that close to the sea. Eh? Marvelous. Marvelous. Yeah. I wish I was. Yeah. I would walk on the beach every day too. Okay.
Okie doke. Well,
see ya.
See you on Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, take care.
Yes. Okay, bye.
Bye.